Hey everybody, it's Maggie Mulhern from Modern Salon TV. I am here. Look at everybody behind me. Yay! We're at the Moroccan Oil Academy in New York City, and behind me is the Peter Gray. If you don't know who he is, you should. He is one of the top hairdressers in the world. When you see these great ads and great Fashion Week things, it's Peter Gray who's the behind-the-scenes guy. So this is a very special class. Peter brought in a model over here who is going to be a top runway girl, and we're going to learn all about square layering techniques and texturizing and the whole kit and caboodle. So I'm going to turn this back on him, and please ask your questions along with everybody here in the class. So here we go, Mr. Peter Gray.
All right, hi there guys. This is Gabby. Gabby's a model at D1 agency. Dean looks after her, and basically Gabby's an ex-dancer, ballerina, and she's just started modeling, and she's about to go into her first show season. Okay, castings about 350, 400 girls for a show where they need to pick 25 girls. It's important that a girl feels great, looks great, and stands out from the mass. For Gabby's first season, what I said was, you know, with long one-length hair like this, it's got a little bit of blonde in the ends. Just old, with these old highlights or these old sunlights? Just all natural, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Tricky little hairline around the front here, having a look at the growth pattern. Jumps a little bit. We discussed a bang. Consultation, fairly short and sweet. I'm much more interested in the fact that she's open to some sort of haircut, some sort of change. I think too often in consultations we start talking about length. I don't really talk about length. I talk about shape. I talk about the final look and try and leave the word length out of the equation. That way when it comes off, nobody's crying.
And you said something, and we can turn this around so the whole class can watch. I mean, I don't want to dominate here, so if you want to flip around. You said something about bangs. What's your feeling about bangs for her? I'm
going to have a look at it. I'm going to have a look at it as it grows. It's very fine. She's got a lot of baby hair around the hairline. A lot of this is probably from traction. You know, being a ballerina before, she would have been scraped back repetitively into like a very tight low bun, very tight. And that's resulted in a lot of baby hair around the hairline. Sometimes that grows back, sometimes it doesn't. It grows quite strongly. There's a big loop around the side here. So when I'm looking at a model or anybody I'm cutting, I look at all the growth patterns first, and I really do go into it. I felt Gabby's head shape, a really nice round head shape, accentuated occipital. I think it'll be great if we've got some like softer, choppier texture here. I sort of said, what if it looked a little bit more rock and roll, like a bit more rough around the edges rather than so tailored? She's used to a fairly blunt one-length haircut.
And she's pretty excited about this. You communicated with her model agent to come up with a great look for her.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's her first season. She needs to stand out from the crowd. And I think, you know, she's going to come at it totally differently. I always say that if the girls look different, they act different. You know, when you're standing in a casting lineup, it's really important that you feel different than anybody else.
Okay. What about like her hair density? It's like, to me that looks really fine, and
it's quite fine. There's plenty of it.
That much texture in.
Quite fine, a lot of it. I want to be able to leave her styling opportunities, because the reason to do shows is not just for the shows, but what you do is your showtime gives you exposure for both editorial and advertising for the following season. So that's something I have to consider. I don't want to kind of restrict her afterwards if I cut it too short, or you know, don't leave enough of an impact. It's really important.
Jessica is asking, how come you do not discuss length?
Because the moment you say length, you give people an opportunity to say no, and every client is nervous about length. And it's kind of one of those things that we've got into as a habit as hairdressers, is discussing the length, and we get stuck on the length instead of the final look. People want to hang on to length for whatever reason. It doesn't matter how tatty it is or how little it's doing for them. It's just become like a habit of society to hang on to that length. And I just really don't believe in it. And I think, you know, I have a lot of success cutting hair off, not talking about length.
So I have a question. Cutting hair wet versus cutting hair dry.
Yeah.
You are obviously cutting her hair wet. Is this something you ordinarily do, or?
either, both, a combination of. It's, really it's, every case is different. I'm going to start on wet hair here. I'm going to work with a square layering technique, which will kind of remove a lot of the bulk internally quickly. I'm just taking a horseshoe section around here. Right, here we go. I also want to keep a soft, choppy perimeter shape, which is really important to me. Oops, let's just come to it.
And again, for those just tuning in, we're at the Moroccan Oil Academy in New York City. This is the Peter Gray. He is a superstar. And you guys, I don't know how lucky you guys are to watch him, but how lucky you are in Facebook Live world to, you do so much work editorially, you don't always teach. So this is a great opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be like a special year for me because having taught for such a long time at Sassoon's and various other companies over the years, I started coming back to teaching and really finding it extremely rewarding. Kind of putting back into the industry, kind of ensuring, something, a legacy of future in the industry, making it interesting for myself and for the industry at the moment. And I think, with the way the industry is going, with all these booth rental salons taking over, I think education is going to become more and more of a premium product.
Okay, so tell us what you're doing here.
Okay, pulling the hair out 90 degrees from the head through the back here, I'm establishing a guideline. So my guideline is always the slow bit. Now I want to make sure, I get enough length out the back so that I'm able to control the perimeter. I want to keep enough length around the outline that I can take it off afterwards if I want to. I don't want to also have to relayer it, so I want to keep enough length internally that's my final length. So taking my final length here and predicting that it's going to ride sort of on the top of the backbone there. So the last top bit of the spine, just clear of the shoulders. Okay, now I like to cut and texturize at the same time. Some people like to cut and then texturize at the end. I'm not quite sure why, it just takes a lot of extra effort.
And Carrie,
that is one of the questions.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat the question.
About, are you going to cut it again when it's dry? Do you always cut it wet?
Yeah, mostly I'll do finishing dry. Mostly I work on finishing when it's dry. So it's, if I'm looking for like a more textured perimeter, then I'll do that when it's dry at the end. But I try to get the majority of my shape in wet now on this sort of hair. If she had slightly coarser hair, straighter hair, often I'll blow dry out and flat iron, and then cut the hair. I don't believe that there's kind of one rule. I'm not someone who goes, dry cutting is the only way or wet cutting is the only way. It's each individual situation. So, pulling the hair out vertically from the head, keeping it on the base. Picking up this a traveling section from the section before.
Are you working with a traveling guide there, Peter?
I am. Okay, and the reason I texturize again as I go is because I see no point in cutting in a straight line and then texturizing it afterwards. I may as well texturize it initially. It just gives me, I feel like, a prettier effect at the end.
Bianca's asking, what cut is this? Do you have a name for this cut that you're creating?
Yeah, it's one of the Moroccan Oil signature looks that we've kind of designed, and it's based on that, and it's a square layer technique.
And this is something every hairdresser should have in his or her arsenal, correct? A square layer cut?
Absolutely. It's a fundamental basic. And the fact that I'm texturizing it is, for me, just a way of speeding up the process in a salon, making it more salon relevant. I think a lot of the time teaching gets far too technical and becomes irrelevant to salon life and salon hairdressers. For me, it's really important that the class is able to take away the techniques and utilize them immediately, not take away a 4-hour haircut and interpret it. I want them to be able to take away the techniques directly and utilize them immediately.
And Moira said, I hope I pronounced that correct, Moira Lamborn said, texturizing as you go, that it saves time.
Absolutely. It's giving me my soft, choppy perimeter. I can then use a scissors up technique or a scissors down texturizing technique to get a more clean, finished result if I want, or a more irregular result if I'm looking for that.
Am I too close to you here, Peter? I feel like I'm kind of
Maybe
crowding.
you like to be nice and close. Snuggle up.
And if I'm blocking anybody, I apologize.
Just your husband.
People are watching from Brazil and Scotland.
Hi there, guys. It's snowing. It's snowing in New York. Welcome.
Snowing, yeah. If you guys can see it out that window, we've got a little snowstorm going on.
So the whole idea, we've kind of started this cutting program, and this is one of the first classes I'm teaching here in New York for Moroccan oil. And it was basically, it's a reductive program. It's basically taking cutting techniques down, 6 cutting techniques down to brass tacks, the absolute essentials.
How long, if you were doing this normally in a salon, how long would you give yourself for this haircut?
15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think we spent far too long cutting hair, not enough time on the consultation. Here on the consultation, I know it was a big change, so it's about a hard, fast consultation. It's about confidence. Maggie, Gabby, I'm talking like you're not here, so excuse it. It's about confidence. It's about knowing that you can effect a very strong change on the girl, and you know it's going to work, and you know it's going to look great on her. If you waver, if you start asking too many questions, you've lost the battle. I'm a firm believer in that if you've got boring clients, you're the culprit. You're the boring one, not your clients.
Nice.
So, you know,
That's a little scary, huh?
I think too often hairdressers use their clients and go, but the client wants this. And I'm like, really? Like, you don't go to the dentist and debate with them, do you?
Wow. How much is that?
A lot. Charge more. Charge the same as the dentist.
And just so you guys see what's going on here, this is a cut. Very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I think it's, people ask you, you know, they always go, wow, you're lucky. And I go, well, I'm only lucky, and you only have a reputation because every single day that reputation is either made or broken. And literally when I'm working, I approach every single day, every single job, teaching situation, every shoot in that way. And I try and achieve a unique result every single time.
Nicole Bourne asked a very interesting question. How come you just didn't get rid of the length to begin with? Why did you go right into the layering?
Because I really like the soft texture. If you have a look across the back here, Nicole, across the back we're getting some really soft, irregular texture, and I think this is going to be really pretty and give me an unusual finish.
Peter, can you turn her so we can see too?
Oh, oh yes. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I'll come over here so that you guys can all see at the same time.
So this morning we all worked on a round layer here, and you remember how the round layer came in and gave you a little bit more of a solid shape there. As you took your shape, you pulled the hair out and followed the head shape all the way around and then tapered into the neck. With a square layer, you're pulling the hair out and literally running down to the length. So on shorter hair, this would just be omitted and drop out, especially where we know the underneath hair is weaker and broken. I'm actually utilizing that now to give me this kind of real rock and roll chopped out look.
So the traveling guide, Shay was asking about the traveling guide.
Yep.
Is that
Okay, Shay, if you come around this side, Maggie, I'll show Shay.
okay?
Okay, Shay, so you can see we've got a vertical section here. Okay, and we have previously cut section here, and what I do is I take half the previously cut section and I pull the hair out, and I'll cut overhand here for the sake of the section. Online, pull through, and I find my guide underneath, and I texturize right this way through. And I follow that guide all the way down, flipping to find it. You can see, guys, how I'm coming out straight from the head, back of the head here, all the way out. So each section, you're shifting, 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 shifting till behind the ear when you're coming back square. So I want you to think as though you were creating a big flat plane here.
Courtney's asking if this is a good cut for a conservative client.
Hell yeah. Come on, Courtney, do you want to be doing conservative clients? Again, do I want a conservative client? I could have discussed a trim with Gabby. I could have said, let's take 3 or 4 inches off, knowing she would have been super happy. But I don't want it to be super happy. I want it to be lying on the floor, rolling, orgasmically, ecstatically happy. Okay, that's the kind of client I want coming back to me. And I think, we all want that and we all dream of that. And then we put out this, lackluster performance and we kind of sit down or we stand up behind the model. And you saw my consultation, I sit down at the same level as her. I talk to her, I ask her what she does, how she cares for her hair, what shampoo and conditioner she uses. Those things are important to me. Whereas all hairdressers, products are important. Products are performance. If you're not using performance products, if you're using supermarket products, the hair condition is going to be substandard from the beginning, and it's not going to do what we want the hair to do.
Christina, who is here in the class, raise your hand. She's here taking the class and says you must take this class, it's so good. And we're going to get into that. Robert Ham over there is going to tell us, who is the Director of Education. He runs the show here at Moroccan Oil. You said there are... We're going to run over here. There are 3-day classes, 1-day classes. Want to just fill us in?
Sure. So here at the Moroccan Oil Academy this year, our main focus is our cutting program that we call the Academy Collection. We have 4 3-day classes. They're offered once a quarter. You can find out more on MoroccanOil.com under the Professionals tab. Those classes are all taught by Peter Gray. And then for those stylists that can't take 3 days off from the salon, we also have a 1-day course that's offered on Mondays and Tuesdays all throughout the year, and those are taught by our artistic director Kevin Hughes. And we also have a photographic class, Behind the Lens, where you come to New York for 2 days. 1 day you plan your mood boards, you work on your inspiration, and then on the second day we take you down to the Garment District to a studio with a really fabulous beauty photographer, Anthony Friend, and you actually produce your own work and work for your portfolio.
Oh.
So check us out at MoroccanOil.com and find out how you can
MoroccanOil.com. And Maggie Mullerin is definitely going to go to that class. Because,
yes.
Yeah, I want to come check out what's going on. It's great. Okay, so
any comments on how beautiful
so we had a question about do you consider the shape of the face with this kind of a haircut?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think if you don't consider the shape of the face, as a hairdresser, you're a non-starter. Saying that, I don't believe in the rules. I don't believe that necessarily a round haircut needs to go on a square face. I do believe there are exceptions, and I think those exceptions are what makes are exactly that. They are exceptional. I think you can cut short fringes on people with large foreheads, and it can look fantastic. It can be an identity thing. So I try not to get stuck in dogma. I try to kind of see through it, and I always ask questions like, why am I teaching this? Why am I doing it this way? That's how we've ended up with this entire cutting program, because I just felt like all the other cutting programs I've ever been involved with just got more and more complicated and more involved, and took longer and longer to execute. The sections got smaller and smaller, and the detail got greater and greater. And as that happened, I felt like it got more and more irrelevant to salon work. And to me, ultimately, as hairdressers, you want to see your work out there. I want to see my work on a living human being. I don't want to see it on a mannequin and, yes, this is a great idea, but I don't ever get to execute it.
So Camilla is watching from Finland and says she is learning to be a hairdresser, and she just did that cut on a client today at school. Yay, Camilla, yay!
Post and tag.
Very cool, and thank you, Camilla, for watching. So just for people who are super brand new, what does square layer mean?
Okay, square layers is a technique of reducing weight. Any layering is the reduction of weight in a haircut. graduation is the build-up or retention of weight in a haircut. So with layering, what we're doing is removing weight in that square layering. We're removing weight in a flat plane. We're pulling the hair out with the head up straight, very importantly, both legs uncrossed, pulling hair out at 90 degrees from the head. And we're working around the head shape. What we're going to do, in the case of Gabby here, we're going to take a horseshoe section all the way around the front, classic horseshoe section. I just separated the back. You can separate the entire horseshoe and keep that separated while you cut. I think with cutting there's always more than one way to kill the cat. So what we're doing here then is we're going to over-direct this hair back slightly, but still keep our fingers square in relation to the head. So we're still having a square layer, but what we're going to do by over-directing that hair back is retain a little bit of the length through the front area here.
So this is very dense hair. Megan was asking if this is good for thin hair as well.
Absolutely. Actually, her hair's, it is dense, but it is very fine. Taking my guide. Yep.
How would a haircut like this work on curly hair? Can you do it?
It would release a lot of texture.
A lot of
A
texture.
huge amount of texture, give you a lot of volume. It works really well on round faces. Retains the weight around the face, that kind of comfort zone that clients really want to hang on to. I often find if you keep the weight around the face, if you keep something shaggy around here, that comfort zone, you can get away with murder in the back. So you can see progressive vertical sections working all the way forward. Picking up each section from before, pulling it back. I took my corner guide here, rotated it slightly, and I'm pulling the hair out vertically from the head here.
And this is something she can style easily on her own?
Absolutely.
In between salon visits?
Absolutely. I think, you know, we ascertained that straight away in the consultation that Gabby's extremely low maintenance. You know, I'd like her to use a slightly heavier conditioner, which I've already recommended, the smoothing shampoo and conditioner, so that it gives the hair a little bit of gravity and weight. And other than that, possibly just like a little bit of a hand cream or something like that to style it, just like something a little bit lighter.
So which Robert do you recommend? Which Moroccan oil product do you recommend for styling? A lightweight?
The hydrating styling cream.
Hydrating styling cream is perfect.
Yeah. Peter's an editorial stylist, so sometimes on set they have to use anything they can get their hands on, right? So hand cream comes in.
Show us.
Hand cream comes in handy.
Yeah, but
Moroccan
ideally,
oil.
I do use the Moroccan oil.
We recommend the hydrating styling cream, or any of our other styling products, of course.
good save. Good save, everybody. That's...
Shoot, nearly got into trouble there, guys.
What, you're not surrounded by enough Moroccan oil?
I'm always watching.
So, I mean, the great thing here is, you know, Moroccan oil, although it's a very large company, they've taken a huge leap of faith in kind of putting out a program it really is different. While everybody else is concentrating on more and more commercial looks and more kind of, you know, just classic teaching company, you know, programs, I think we've kind of really gone out on a limb here to create something unique, put our heads on the line, and coming up with something really interesting. And I really feel like it's an original cutting program. I think it's totally applicable to salon life, and for me, that's what was important.
All right, so somebody commented that this is similar to the Jennifer Aniston from Friends cut. How is this different? How is this a modern salon version of the Jennifer Aniston cut?
It's not actually that different because, yeah, I think who cut Jennifer's? I mean, you know, that was a square layer. It was just blow dried out. So the finish there, it's not hair cutting that's, you know, there's only so many angles you can cut into a head of hair. You know, it was a square layer. The ends were flipped. What I'm going to do here, though, is by layering through here, instead of blow drying it out, I'm going to liberate the texture and keep this really soft and choppy and stringy through the back. So instead of looking pretty and commercial, she's going to look a little tough.
You know what's one of the main reasons to take a class from Peter is because his cool vocabulary.
Yeah.
He's going to liberate the hair.
Peter, another question. we cut textured lines here at Moroccan Oil.
Yeah.
But what if I am a stylist that loves to razor cut? Am I able to achieve the same
Absolutely.
style with the razor?
Absolutely.
Would I get a little bit more diffusion in my hair? Like, what's going to
You're going to get a lot more of a diffused outline. It depends on how you razor cut. I think too many people think that razor cutting is like haphazard. I think you can create extremely technical results. I mean, I know I work with Gerard Scarpese from Hairbrain, and he's a fantastic razor haircut, and he was at Sassoon's for years, and a lot of his haircuts look, you can't really tell whether they're scissor or razor.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody was asking what kind of products you would use to make it more of a top texture rocker look. You can definitely use some of the Moroccan Oil Root Boost in there. Today, when we do this in class, we're going to use some of the Root Boost and some of the Heat Styling Protectant to have a medium hold. We're going to add texture into it and then use our dry texture spray, which adds volume and tremendous texture. Very soft feel. It's amazing.
People were asking where you can get Moroccan Oil. Is it where? Other than MoroccanOil.com.
We're sold by distributors, so you can find Moroccan Oil at your local salon that carries Moroccan Oil. So again, MoroccanOil.com will tell you where you can find a loyalty salon to find the product. So,
But salons.
Salons,
Yeah.
yeah.
Salons who want to buy it.
salons. We are a professional brand sold in salons, so or spas.
Okay, so not salons. Somebody was asking Cosmoprof, Salon Centric.
Cosmoprof, depending on where you are in the U.S., might have Moroccan Oil, and depending on where you are in the U.S., Salon Centric as well. We're scattered across the U.S. with different territories. So, but MoroccanOil.com will tell you where you can get it.
Okay, cool. All right, back to Peter. People are very curious what you're going to do in the front. So everybody just be patient. He's going to get
Okay.
there.
Sorry.
This is very exciting to have this opportunity to see a cut from start to finish.
So what I'm doing here is pulling the hair slightly backwards from the front. These vertical sections, pulling them slightly back to retain a little bit of length and weight. The flat layer will still skinny the ends out. Taking up traveling guide from behind. Each subsequent section, bringing it over-directing slightly back and just working on that textured perimeter. The great thing is this, when I work with a technique like this, is it creates 80% of the outline shape for me. So it speeds up the hair cutting process and the hair finishing process in a salon situation.
Are you surprised by the texture that's suddenly coming out of her hair?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I mean, I kind of had bargained that there was some sort of texture. Generally, when you work on a square layer, it does liberate a lot of texture. And any texture that's in there, which I think is great because, you know, I want it to look a little bit Debbie Harry in her prime.
She's still not so bad.
She's still not so bad. Great hair still, fantastic hair.
So you are leaving length in the front.
Yeah, I've left a little bit more on this side. What I'm doing is going to come around and I'm going to check my balance. Either side of the horseshoe, pick the hair up, and we run through. Nice and even here. I know I've over-directed too much at the front on this side at the moment, and that's my point at which I've over-directed too much. So
Yeah, somebody was asking about over-direction. Is that one way that you maintain length?
Absolutely.
By over-direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
By over-directing, you're keeping weight through the front of the hair. I mean, you can over-direct for backwards as well, backwards or forwards. Over-direction can also remove weight depending on which way we go. So by pulling the hair back, especially with all this fine baby hair around the front, I'm pulling the hair back so we keep a little bit of weight and length around the front there.
And Emmett is asking, and many people are really asking about face shape. Again, what is the ideal face shape for this haircut?
I mean, it's to counter a round face shape, but obviously, you know, the ideal face shape is an oval face shape. But I don't, you know, for me, it's more about, is it suitable at the end of the day? Does it look good on the individual rather than sticking to a hard and fast rule?
So it's more the personality of your client.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So sometimes it's not necessarily the face shape. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't like to get stuck in. I like to teach that this is what face shape is about, but then I also encourage people to break the rules and to experiment to kind of find individual results. Otherwise, we'll end up with a homogeneous business where everybody ends up looking the same.
Anybody here have a question? Anybody in class?
Getting it all in.
You're getting it? And you're all watching on Facebook Live. Modern on Facebook Live. Thank you.
I'm scared. I'm watching instead. Watching instead.
I'm getting the better angle. That's why I keep blocking everybody.
Okay. All right.
Did you
So.
show the inspiration piece up here though?
Sorry.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Right up there. I didn't realize there was an inspiration piece up there. Did you know that, Peter? This
Someone's
is-
been on it.
Somebody, oh, that's cool. So this was,
So this is part of the new cutting program. That's a finished look on square layers. What that's we've incorporated a bang into that look. So that in the signature look, a bang is part of the look. So what we've done is proposed like several signature looks. People always ask for a style. What kind of style is suitable? And I think often during consultation, it's very easy when you get busy to get lost. And if you've got a couple of quick go-tos, it makes life easy. So that's what we've tried to achieve. Okay, so hair coming out horizontally. I've split the top of the head into two within the horseshoe, pulling the hair all the way back, over-directing it back into the previous cut line, fingers vertical, and just joining up that line.
Bailey asked the coolest question. What if you got done with this and you and the client decided you wanted it a little bit shorter? Would you just go in from scratch and do the whole thing over? Like, what would you do to make it an inch or two shorter?
Bailey, are we talking about shorter in length or are we talking about shorter internally?
Bailey asked the question again. I think she meant in length, but
In length, I would work with a scissors up or a scissors down texturizing technique if I wanted to take off perimeter. That's why I said it was so important initially to get your guideline to exactly the length you wanted. Because this is easy to alter, relayering the entire haircut would be time consuming and a waste of time. It's doing the same job twice.
oh, she said length.
Yeah.
Bailey asked a
So,
really cool question.
Slicing down
I'm sorry.
or slicing up. We slice down if you want to be more skinny and more bitty and piecey on the ends. Slice up, create a more solid, more defined outline.
Okay, so Bailey asked, do you always go from a center part, a top center part, or do you determine beforehand whether or not the client will be parting her hair on a side?
I determine where the client parts their hair. Because what would happen then is sometimes I actually like the overlap. Often if somebody parts on the left side, instead of cutting it to the right side, I'll cut it to the left side to create an overlap. So you'll have almost an undercut feeling, which gives you a little bit of extra length. When you've got length like this, it gives you a little bit of hair to kind of push up into pompadour, shape it around and style it. So over directing all the hair back. That's my vertical from beneath. And just go through it, continuing the textured line. Great thing about textured line, when I comb the hair down, we all know working on square layers, you have problems with weight lines, don't you? When you work with a texturized cut straight away, instead of having to go in afterwards and texturize that line, it blends straight away from the beginning, saving you time.
Yala is asking why you didn't use pie sections.
Why didn't you use pie sections? I would use pie sections if you're talking about pizza or beach ball sections pivoting from a point. I would tend to use those when I worked on a round head shape or a round haircut shape.
So Peter, with this technique, the awesome thing about it is that it's so transferable to a bunch of different lengths,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. I mean, whether you cut this down and do a men's haircut at, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the head, and then texturize it, and then have like a little brushy Gene Seberg, a boot de souffle look, is up to you. Or whether you take it out even longer and have a longer, choppier perimeter, where you're just taking away the weight line, is up to you. The great thing about teaching technique rather than teaching style is that any length is, the length is up to you. It's your individual choice. I think as hairdressers, we've all got to a stage where we don't want to be dictated to. We want to be shown how to drive the vehicle, not, give me the means to drive the vehicle and I'm going to drive it how I like. Okay, so. Okay, shifting through from my center section there. Moving on to the next side. All the hair coming back vertically from the back of the head, keeping the hair horizontal, taking the weight out. Traveling guide. Same thing, horizontal out from the head, picking up the previous piece of traveling guide and just texturizing as we go. So you'll notice I'm not wetting the hair down. I like to cut wet to dry. I like to see the texture coming through. It saves me time, and it's going to be a look that she'll be able to replicate herself. And that to me is very important. As much crazy editorial styling as I do, I realize the importance of a client being able to replicate the look.
Peter, what you're doing up here on top, sometimes I find myself, if I'm doing that top layer piece of the square can fall kind of heavy on certain hair types.
Right.
What do you like to do to fix that?
We're about to come to that, but what you do is you take horizontal sections through the top and remove the corner.
Okay.
So as you remove the corner, if you're finding it excessive and you're finding there's too much weight buildup, you can always just round that corner off slightly. You just pick that corner out where you've created the right angle there, all the way around the head. You created a square shape. What you do then is you just chip into that corner, and it will release that weight.
And to Laura, we discussed earlier, it is a good cut for wavy hair, for curly hair, for straight hair, right? I mean, this is
absolutely any sort of hair. It's about technique, Laura. It's, I think too long we've been teaching style. This is about technique. Hairdressing should be about technique. It's about a skill set that's up to you. You master the skill set and then interpret it how you feel right.
And again, this is Peter Gray, an editorial superstar who is now teaching cut classes.
Loading on the pressure.
He's teaching cut classes here at Moroccan Oil in New York City, and the Moroccan Oil Academy on Lexington Avenue and 57th Street. And the facade of the building is, Robert hand left, is from Mr. Robot. So you'll recognize the building because it's the Mr. Robot building. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yes. Next time, if you watch Mr. Robot, the facade of the building is this
Really?
building. Yeah. Well, Robert told me that, so I don't know if it's true.
Ah, so you're going to go back and check out Mr. Robot and make sure he's telling the truth, right?
Yes.
This is a really good question someone asked actually about preventing holes by the ears.
Yeah.
Preventing pulls?
Holes.
Like
Okay,
something new.
that's actually a good point. Okay,
Preventing holes by the
shoot with the
ears.
question.
Good question. Yeah, phrase
How
it.
to present it.
How to prevent holes by the ears.
Okay,
Excellent
we
question.
are at the ear point here. If you come over this point, what I've got is I've got that horseshoe section on top of the head, and that's one side of the horseshoe at the front, and directly below this area is, lo and behold, an ear. Okay, so what we do in order to prevent the hole, we over-direct. I'm using the wide teeth of the comb to lessen the tension, pulling the hair through, and you can see I've got a very, very low tension through the front area. And when I comb the hair down, I'm going to have a slight dip in the perimeter there around the head, and I will just work with a scissor down slicing technique to tailor that area afterwards. But the biggest key is not to carry on pivoting all the way around, or not to carry on square layering directly out from the head. If you do, you're going to lose that length and you're going to create a big ear gap, a big hole above the ear. Okay, so I've gone to a center parting here, combing all that hair down. Okay, very easy, my traveling guide's beneath there. Pick up the last piece of guide. Right. Small, manageable sections. This isn't about big sections. It's about rapid, efficient sections. Pulling the hair back, find my previous guide underneath, and we just connect. Over directing the hair back to avoid that ear gap and retain the weight in the front. Going back to a wide teeth of the comb here, low tension. Fingers still square, hair coming out flat from the head, cutting a flat square line.
And we have a question for Robert Ham. What is a good cutting lotion? Was it cutting lotion to maintain? Did you see the question? What?
I saw the question.
Did you write the question?
I did not write the question. Actually, we recommend using our Moroccan oil treatment, which is the foundation for hairstyling, as our cutting prep for now. Soon we might be working on something in product development, but right now the Moroccan oil treatment is a wonderful aid to helping as a cutting lotion.
And where is it? Just show us.
Yep, the Moroccan oil treatment
We were
is our
surrounded
hero
by
product
products.
right here.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Let me get that piece of hair off of it. There you go.
There's hair everywhere.
There's hair everywhere.
All right.
How are you doing there, Gabby? Okay.
Gabby, it looks great. That looks really good.
So again, you know, come back to that consultation thing with clients. I think, you know, too often as hairdressers, we kind of go, well, we're professionals. And I'm like, well, you know, generally when you approach a professional, a lawyer, a doctor, or a dentist, you don't ask them, you know, they don't kind of sit there and go, well, tell me what you want. Tell me how you want to feel. I'm like, I want to feel better. I want the pain to go away. I want you to check my teeth. I want to do what, you know, I want you to do what you trained to do. But hairdressers then end up in this kind of performing monkey situation where you're kind of like negotiating for a look all the time, and people don't want change. As human nature doesn't want change. So if you give people the option not to have a change, of course they're going to say, I don't want to change. So the thing to do is to present change to them in an attractive, exciting way where they kind of grab it and go, hell yeah, let's do this. Swing you around to the front. Last couple of bits coming over.
It's looking good, girl. Yes. Good.
So you can see how the outline comes as I work. Pulling, over directing the hair back again, wide teeth of the comb, low tension. Okay.
Again, somebody's asking about using wide teeth versus the other side, and that's for tension?
All about tension, yeah. Yeah, I mean, tension is everything. When you cut hair, as the hair dries, you know, the elasticity changes, it becomes less elastic, there's less snapback. If I'm using fine hair and I'm putting in very hard defined lines, obviously when I let hair go, it's an elastic fabric, it jumps and it jumps back on itself.
We're real excited for Gabby for this modeling season. New York Fashion Week is right around the corner, and they're going to start casting models. And we hope to see you on the runway, Gabby. We're going to be looking for you.
She's going to be a rock star. Okay, so at this stage, you can see the weightiness through the top. Okay.
That's great.
Okay. I don't want to take away too much now, because I really like that and I think it's kind of interesting. I'm just going to pick the hair up horizontally through the top. Now, take your section before, take your horseshoe out. Okay, you can take the entire horseshoe in a clean manner. Let's see what it looks like tucked behind the ear there. That's going to be really cute. Okay. All right. You can take the entire horseshoe out and work. I just tend to make one section here. So I've got the side of the horseshoe. I pick the hair up, vertically. And I cut a texturized square line in through the top. So my fingers are square in relation to the top of the head. Picking all the hair up, using my guideline from the back underneath section. Pick it up, ensure that I am not overlapping. Tiny overlap there.
Nothing is rounding off like this?
Nothing is rounding off. I don't round off at all here at the moment. If I'm going to round off, I leave it right until the end when I'm almost dry. You can put a lot more texture in at this stage if you're looking for like a real textured look. You know, generally, because it's such a big change, I wouldn't go too crazy with texture at this stage. Not lack of commitment, as you can see, judging by what's on the floor. But just common sense. Again, you've got to realize that, you know, there's change and there's change. So I'm just breaking into the top a little deeper than normal, giving myself a little bit of softness and texture through there. Okay, if I turn you to the front, you can see that in relation to the head. So, elbows up when you cut. Hair cutting is all about posture and the relationship of your body into the head. Too often we think that scissors are the tool. The comb is the main tool when you're cutting hair. The comb transfers the weight to your fingers. We're over-directing the hair slightly back, and we texturize through.
Someone was asking about cross-checking. I know you cross-checked earlier.
Yep.
Do you continue to cross-check throughout?
I tend to cross-check as I go, rather than do an entire haircut then cross-check. I find it more time efficient. So I think that doing the entire cross-check and then getting to the end of the haircut and going, oh hell, I've got a corner, is counterproductive. I think it's an old way of working. I just think it takes up too much time. I prefer to just cross-check as I go and not have the mistakes at the end. So, and cross-checking, all you do is you work in the opposite direction to the cut line. So as I'm going here, I'm cutting horizontally, parallel sections, moving forward progressively. I take a vertical section, I pull the hair out, and I can see there's my next section very clearly.
Kara Chris says, elbows up, it's ballroom dancing.
There we go. We love
Thank you,
that.
Kara.
We
Yes,
love
it is.
that. Keep those hips straight, don't wiggle them too much. The chiropractor already makes enough money from you.
Again, Emma is asking, and we just covered this, but why do you over-direct and texturize, please? Just a little refresher.
I'm over-directing to retain weight forward. Where I'm pulling the hair away, if I can over-direct that way, and I would be retaining weight forward. Wherever you over-direct to, you're retaining weight forward of that point. Texturizing as I go, because I don't believe in texturizing after the fact. I'd rather texturize as I cut. I just think you're kind of cutting a straight line to texturize it afterwards doesn't make any sense to me. I'd much rather texturize as I go. It's far more efficient. If I was cutting a showpiece or a technical haircut as a showpiece, then I could approach it that way if I had unlimited amounts of time. But generally in the salon situation, you need to kind of create time for interaction, for consultation. And generally, I like to be involved with my clients in a lot more hands-on way. I don't like to pass clients over to people that are working with me. I like to kind of be with them as much as possible from start to finish. Okay, taking the hair from the front hairline all the way back. Fingers still square. Fingers still square. Okay, if I check out here, you can see I've created a corner. Okay, that corner runs entirely around the parietal ridge of the head. And in this case, I'm probably going to keep it until we're 100% dry.
Jaden is asking, on average, how long would this haircut take in the salon?
What are we on time-wise now, Jaden?
I don't know.
You're getting going for about 35, 45 minutes.
No. Really? Oh, that's my fault. I keep asking
But that's
questions.
because
Sorry.
I think, you know, a good square layer, 20 minutes, 25 minutes in a salon situation max.
I love this question from Alexander Jacob. What is the best advice that you can give to a new stylist in the industry? That is just such a big blanket.
Find a mentor and work your butt off.
Oh, I love that.
Everything I am is a result of great mentors, fantastic mentors, people, you know, I never be able to repay, never be able to say thank you enough. You know, people have given me chances, people give me opportunities now. You know, working for Moroccan Oil is a huge opportunity because there's so much freedom compared to most of the rest of the corporate world. I think it's, you know, just work hard, head down, and don't complain, and get rid of your watch. Don't clock watch. It's like, you know, going home time is get a normal job.
Wow, you look great.
That looks so beautiful.
Can't believe that.
You look like a different person.
Yeah, you look like different in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, you look gorgeous before, and this is great.
Is there anything you need prep for styling?
I think I'm going to use something, actually I'm going to do something a little different with her, and I'm going to use a heat styling lotion. You can see the hair textures come up a little coarser than I expected. There's lots of volume to it, where it was kind of flat to the head before. It's come up quite voluminous. I'm just going to go around the head now, check off the squareness of the line. So I've created a corner all the way around the head like this. I've over-directed the hair back and created a corner all the way around. Through the front here, I'm going to definitely keep the corner. Through the back here, I'm going to just take a wee bit of that corner off. Just progressive parallel sections and just nip the corner. Over-directing the
I was
hair back.
asking about earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just looking at it, and really it's a visual thing. It's like, do you want to move it? Don't you want to move it? It's like, as the hair dries here, I felt like it was getting a little bit weighty, and I guess it was that Jennifer Aniston comment that made me want to remove it as well. Oh, you sure know how to bait me.
I liked your answer though, originally. I thought that was good. It's not like that was ever a bad cut. That was a good cut.
No, it was great. I mean, listen, it's fantastic. It's, you know, it still looks good. I think, you know, it's just like a slightly different finish, isn't it?
Oh, this is so exciting. You girl.
All right,
Look at
so-
that, Miss Gabby.
So, our first day of our cutting course, we covered scissors down. Okay, so what we do is we take the hair.
That's a good question because a lot of people were asking what was the difference between scissors down and scissors up.
Scissors down and scissors
Okay.
up. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Scissors down is literally, call it what it is. Scissors pointing down, and we're slicing through, taking a section of hair out, and we're opening and closing the scissors gently and slicing down the hair shaft to give me a soft tapered perimeter. It's a little bit too long and flicky right now. And take a little bit more of that off. All right, now, interesting thing here, got a little bit of weight. And if we have a look at it, got a nice strong hairline here. So I know where that weight's coming from this little hairline at the back here. It's a little bit lower on the right side. You can check that, part of the haircut. Haircut checks off perfectly. So I'm looking at the outline and going, need the scissors down technique. So if I wanted to create a more solid outline, a little bit of a chunkier, heavier look, I would go scissors up and cut in slightly diagonal points all the way across, and it would give me a choppy yet defined outline. I'm just working very gently, slicing the hair. Somebody asked about razor earlier. You could use a razor very effectively here. It would just give you a slightly softer effect than the scissors.
And Crystal was commenting about saying shears or scissors. What is your preference? shears or scissors?
Scissors. Shears?
No.
Or scissors? Same thing?
No, they're, what about you guys? Just shout it out. What's your preference?
Shears.
Shears. All right.
Okay. Calling them shears?
Scissors, yeah. Peter's from out of town.
There we go.
Can't tell.
You can take a boy out the bush, you can't take the bush out the boy. Okay, let's just get a little here. Slice in a little
Can I just
more.
say it's really cool that it was wet and now it's dry and you're finalizing it without any blow drying at this point.
I mean, I think, again, I think it's a modern way to work. Your client's sitting there, they want to see the style evolving. They don't want to have to know they have to wet it down and do a load of work in order to kind of make it work for them. So there are different ways of working. I like to work really interactively with whoever's hair I'm cutting. Normally I would have them put their fingers in their hair a little earlier as I kind of removed the bulk. I said bulk, not length, note. Okay, again, block your ears, Gabs. We don't talk about length because length's that word that people just cannot get over. Everybody wants to hang on to length, and as hairdressers, we're just as guilty.
And to Gabby, all your friends from Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, are watching.
There we go, Gabby. Legend.
Someone was asking how you stay inspired, Peter, after all these years of doing so many great things. No, because you've done so many great things. I mean, how do you stay inspired? You're at Fashion Week, you do editorial shoots, you do advertising campaigns, you're here at the Moroccan Oil Academy. How do you stay inspired?
How do you not be inspired? I mean, the more you do, the more opportunities you get. I always say yes before I think about the consequences. And then, once I've dealt with it, the guys here will tell you when we do shows, I like to bite off more than I can chew. I think it's just believing that anything's possible. Don't follow the rules. Who laid those rules down? We're at a time in society and in the world where, to hell with the rules. Let's just do it. Let's be original.
Oh, and Grammy and Gramps are also watching, Gabby. Grammy, Gramps, all your friends. All right, so all your friends have to get Moroccan Oil products. Make sure that they all know, the whole University of Oklahoma.
I think where Peter's different from, and I'm just going to say this, working with Peter over the past year, because we fight sometimes like brothers and colleagues should, but I think where Peter's different than most of those editorial stylists that we meet out there is that he doesn't hide all of his tips and his secrets. He loves to share those with everybody else. And that's what makes him different and why we really love working with him here at the Moroccan Oil Academy.
Oh, we like that. Yeah. Are you guys happy with what you've learned today? Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
We do fight a little bit, don't we?
Only in the most constructive way possible. I don't think anything good was achieved without conflict. I think, I'm not scared of conflict. I'm not scared of a client going, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% happy. If I cut 2 inches, 3 inches off and blow dried it beautifully and flat ironed it, she would have walked out ecstatic. But where's the risk? 500 other hairdressers could have done the same thing. Cutting off, 15 inches and a big difference is like that, you want to make your mark, hairdressers want to get out there. I'm like, grab your friends, give them the confidence. I really think it is it's just about confidence. And when you cut somebody's hair, you really do have a huge impact on their confidence. And if you cut it in a way that you feel confident, and I've done this for 30 years, I have a reasonable amount of experience to pull on and know what's going to work. I know she's going to rock up at a hair show. I'm going to tell her, shampoo, maybe condition your hair rather than shampooing it every time. Use like a slightly heavier smoothing shampoo again and again and again. And maybe shampoo once a week and condition 3 times a week, so that it gives the hair a little weight and a little dirtiness. And arrive looking like a little bit more like you don't care too much. I think so many people care so much in this industry, especially in the modeling industry. It's all about presentation, and it's about saccharine aesthetic. You know, and I think we get to a point where it's so sweet and so overdone, and I'm like, where's the individuality? Where's the coolness? You know, it's like the real world can't relate to that. I think it's half the problem with the fashion business. It's become, you know, kind of irrelevant apart from a very few cool designers. You know, you look at the success of someone like Raf Simons, he is relevant because you actually want to wear his clothes, because his clothes are cool.
We love being in Peter Gray world.
Yeah.
We just love it. This is pretty cool.
Okay. We got a bit of heat styling. Okay, so just a little bit of the Moroccan oil heat styling lotion over the surface of the hair.
Protection.
Gives it a little bit of texture, dirties it up, gives the hair a little bit of weight and gravity. Okay. Again, I think, you know, there's this kind of trend for not washing the hair. I think, you know, you still want to keep the hair clean, but there's finding products that'll give it a little bit of gravity.
Peter, why do you choose the heat styling protection over texture spray? What's the different effect you're looking for?
So dry texture spray would give me a much fluffier, softer, more diffused look, and I think, you know, which would be great for kind of a bit more of an evening look on this, a bit more of kind of like an after party, morning after look. Walk of shame, or actually we call the walk of shame stride of pride now, by the way.
Did everybody hear that? Walk of shame and stride of pride.
It's woman up there, Trump, whatever.
I think it's important to point out here how you're using a product in an unconventional way, because this is essentially a heat styling protection, and you're using it as a styling
aid, as a final styling aid. So this is you know, I like to use products in an unconventional way. Robert said earlier, you know, I do use things like hand cream to finish the hair on set. A lot of the time that's to do with a photographic aesthetic and how hand cream reflects. You know, I'm not looking, if you used hand cream as a customer, it would end up being dirty, it would end up being too weighty.
We're going to sell a lot of heat styling protection.
Which is your favorite Moroccan oil product?
The original oil light.
Moroccan
And so the treatment light.
No, here we're back here. Robert Ham, always ready.
With the plug, right?
And where's that
The heat styling protection, he has the bottle there. So.
Here we go.
What's the heat
Here's a
styling
really good
protection?
question. How do you deal with, like, if someone is just really unhappy once they, like, you're finished the look, and how do you handle the situation?
I sit down and ask myself why I did such a lousy consultation, and I blame myself, because if the client's unhappy at the end, it's my fault, not her fault. Because if I've communicated clearly all the way throughout the process, throughout the cutting process, if I've made her feel comfortable, by the time I get to the end, she should be feeling confident in that. I mean, we barely used the mirror. She's barely had her hands in her hair. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of the treatment. So, this is the Moroccan oil treatment light I was talking about. Okay, and I really enjoy this part of it. Okay, give us your hands. Okay, right, rub them well together. Okay, I'll really spread it out a little bit between your fingers. Okay, and then starting at the base of your neck, and just rub it all the way through. Just kind of get to feel your head. And then do this for me. Do this for me. Pull it through at the front. Pull it through. Pull it down. Through. Put a shake. Rub your hands on it. Tuck it behind your ears a little. Go. We could work on it.
You look amazing. It looks amazing.
You look like a different person. Oh my god, it's stunning.
Let's
Your
have a look.
parents love it
Let's have a look.
Parents,
Hold on.
Gamp had to go.
Where's your phone? Where's your phone? Come on then. Okay. All right. So this is the wild one, actually. All right, selfie time. Come on then.
All right, there we go.
Come on then.
Now she's getting her own first look. Oh, this is great.
Okay, guys, come on, hands in the air. Let's go. So, I encourage clients to use their cameras. We've all got cameras. How many of your clients even bother with a magazine anymore? So have a look at your phone, play with it now, and take some selfies. You're going to get a much better response than you are from the mirror. How many people take a great selfie but then look in the mirror and go, really? We all know. You all know your selfie angle now. You know, look, it's there. She's got to tuck it behind the ears. She's playing with it. She's getting confident with it, getting used to the length. So I use the phone rather than discouraging it. I mean, even on stage, people have seen me, in the middle of a show, kind of chopping hair off and then going selfie on stage, and I'll rotate them to the audience, and everybody will be like, "What the hell?" I think it's fun and exciting.
Good job.
She's very, very good job. Peter, thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Go
in
strong.
Morocco.
Enjoy chopping.
Enjoy shopping Moroccan Oil Academy.
Thank you, Matt.
MoroccanOil.com.
MoroccanOil.com under the Salon Professional tab.
Salon Professional. So everybody knows how to spell it. It's right up there because we have some interesting spellings of Moroccan oil. But this is it. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.